Our first question from the audience is to the county commissioner candidates. How much from capital improvements fund is set aside for residential road replacement, mill and overlay?
To be quite honestly, hardly none, I'll be honest. The capital improvement fund is, we try to maintain, I have a $1.5 million budget. Out of that $1.5 million budget, about $200,000 of that, it goes just for material alone. The rest is for fuel, equipment, repairs, labor. And it costs about $30,000 a mile to do an asphalt job, to do an overlay. That's not including any base material or labor or fuel or equipment. So it's very costly. I've been saving money up aside. I have paid, since I've been in office, about 30 miles in my precinct of the 300 miles in rural area. Yes, I agree, some of the subdivisions do need paving, and that's something that the county has got to look at in the future of how this is going to happen because of all the subdivision growth that we have. Thank you.
As a new commissioner candidate, there is a lot of things that I need to inform myself on and be involved in and get training on. What I do know is that the money that is allotted needs to go to our target areas, the ones that need it the most. We have got to develop a system in which roads are systematically taken care of on a rotating schedule so that we can avoid the potholes, that we can avoid the constant issues that we've had on them. And when we pave them, that we do it the correct way so that we are not repatching the same roads after a year of paving them. So budgeting is a huge part of that. I would have to get my hands into the budget and see where we're at and where we can improve that.
Next question for the county treasurer candidates. Will you continue to call weekly special meetings for the sole purpose of approving payroll and bill paying expenditures?
That is according to KP 60, a ag opinion, and it was determined by the County Treasurers Association attorney that this must be followed to the law. And yes, we will still continue to have these meetings as long as the legislator has not met. We are in the course of changing that through the state legislature. The County Treasurers Association has already sent to the legislator pure pre-legislative terms to stop those weekly meetings. Yes, but they will continue. It is by law. The county treasurer has the responsibility of doing it by the Constitution. Thank you.
As mentioned before, I would abide by all laws, so yes, it would continue if that is the law.
This question is for the county judge candidates. Will you continue the practice of promising annual raises for county employees despite the fact that most taxpayers don't get annual raises?
If the budget allows a raise, it is something that the employees look forward to every year. They, even though it may be minor, there's something they look forward to. And I would like to say, yes, we can count on or look forward to some sort of a raise, if at all possible, if it's within our budget. Our county employees, we don't want to be a training ground. They're some of the lowest paid county employees in this area, this state. So if they come to work, learn their job, then they can go to another county and do the same job and make more money. So that's one way of giving a raise every year, is to get our employees up to the salary that other employees in other counties around us are making. So, yes, I would hope that we can keep the morale up and keep our employees in Wilson County.
So to answer the question, I would say in that, using the current method of just doing across-the-board raises, I would disagree with that. We need pay scales, job descriptions, performance evaluations, so the individuals are getting merit raises, not across the board. When you do across the board, you're rewarding the underperformers rather than helping them develop professionally and giving them an incentive to improve their work performance. Why would they want to do that if they're getting an automatic across the board like everybody else? So we need to work on improving that first, putting the job descriptions in place and doing the proper evaluations so that all employees have incentive to do their best work.
We'll remain with the county judge candidates for the next question. Also, this one is specifically for Judge Jackson. The question is, why have you not done any long-range planning to get our roads fixed? And why do you have to zero out your budget every year?
The long-range plan for the county roads is in the county commissioner's part. They're the ones that are over the roads. The county judge works with them when it comes to commissioner's court, and we make a decision there. That's what was the other part?
Why do you have to zero out your budget every year?
Oh, we have a zero balance budget. Any tax dollars or any revenue that we get through ad valorem taxes, that is what our budget is. We set our budget. I work with the county auditor every year, and we know we have to wait to the last minute, it seems like, to get to what revenues we have, to what we'll know what to work on for the budget. That is why the budget is zeroed out every year. We take every dollar that we can and we try to utilize it to the best things for Wilson County.
Next question to Ms. Berlanga. At the Livonia Town Hall, Judge Jackson said volunteerism has fallen to the wayside. What is your opinion about the lack of volunteerism?
I want to say, look around this room. How many of you have ever done volunteer work?
Doing it now.
Okay. Has it fallen by the wayside?
No.
No. Every community has volunteers in some aspect. None of these organizations that we know of now would exist if not for volunteers. For example, the Republican Party. Nobody's getting paid to put these events on, and everybody's, we have volunteers that sit that are chairs for the different areas. We have the Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, Little Leagues, Red Cross, the Food Bank, the unfortunate, horrific events of Sutherland Springs. How many people came together and helped in that situation without a paycheck? They just went because it was the right thing to do, and they wanted to be part of helping their community recover from that. So I do not think volunteerism is falling by the wayside. It may not be the answer to every single problem, but it's definitely a critical component of a loving, healthy, compassionate community, and volunteerism is alive and well in Wilson County.
Next question is for all the candidates, and we're going to start with the Justice of the Peace and work back down the table. Due to perceived corruption or the possibility of it as people serve multiple terms in office, please state your position on term limits for the office which you seek and why you hold this opinion.
I kind of have mixed emotions on term limits. You see some legislators get in there and they do such a great job, and they get influence, and they do well for the state. They get on different committees. That usually takes time to do. On the other hand, I don't believe that it ought to be a career. And I don't think that any politician ought to get into office and just try to stay there like some of these senators do for 30 and 40 years. I think that's not how the founding fathers designed the Constitution. I think that you can get in and you can serve, you can do your best, and then go home to your people. And that's what you're supposed to do. So I'm not in favor of keeping these guys around for forever. I think it's bad for our country. And so I guess I would be in favor of some sort of term limits on just about every position.
I believe term limits are more important in the higher level positions where more money passes through, changes hands, where larger issues can be made or unmade. I think it's less important in the lower local level issues. And thank you.
I agree with Connie. I believe there should be term limits in the federal level, especially in the Senate and House of Representatives. I got a lot of people up there that are really doing a lot of damage to our country, and I totally agree that we should have term limits. Term limits in the local, hello.
Microphone got turned on. Switch still on?
How about now? Now?
Yes.
Okay. Like I said, the term limits in the federal level, yes. Locally, actually the term limits to a degree are here by having elections every year. And if you don't like the candidate, or the candidate is not doing it good, kick him out. It's a little bit harder to do on the federal level by doing it that way. Yes, president's got term limits. Excuse me, the president has term limits, and I believe all of Congress should. As Mr. Beckett said, the founding fathers did not intend for those positions to be career positions, and that they were supposed to serve and, like he said, return to the families. I agree on both levels there.
I agree on term limits for the president and all the vice president and the senators, the House of Representatives. But on the local level of government, I think that it would be up to the citizens of the county to decide. But I also feel like that this would be a law made by somebody higher up than people on the county level. Thank you.
I think that there should be term limits, because I think that it's a good idea to get somebody in that can take a fresh look at things and be able to look at, instead of becoming complacent and business as usual, you can have somebody that comes in and has a fresh look at things and see about doing things in a new, fresh way.
I have to say that I agree with Mr. Beck. I have some different feelings about term limits. I think term limits are very important for our politicians. Political office should be there as a service, not as a retirement program. One of the most important things about our elected officials is that they come in motivated, willing to look at fresh ideas and new ways of doing things, and bringing what knowledge they have to the table. Without term limits, then we don't get those rotating ideas, we don't get that motivation that we did before. However, I do also understand that when you have something like county government that is, it takes a while to get your policies in place and to really see the benefits of those policies, that it might take longer than maybe just 2 terms.
kind of repeating everybody. At the high level, yes, there should be some term limits. I feel local level, it shouldn't be. Let the constituents make their decision. I got a sheriff sitting back here, our county clerk has had over 20 years. You couldn't ask for a better sheriff or county clerk. And I just think that it takes the time to get your feet wet and know what everything is when you come in an office. It don't happen overnight. And everything, you know, people think, well, I'm gonna come in here and win, and I'm gonna change everything. It don't happen that quick, let me tell you. It takes time. And you think you're gonna change the world overnight, it don't happen. And like, you gotta sit down and you gotta work with everybody. You gotta work with the judge, the commissioners, and the citizens out here, the local cities, everybody else that's out here involved. And I just said, if it needs to be a change, the constituents can make that decision. Thank you.
Again, I'm kind of repeating what everybody's already said, but definitely, as, I'm not sure who said it now, President has his term limits. Congress and Senate need to have the same, I believe. The 20, 30-year career politicians just, it annoys me because they have been manipulated by the lobbying groups, the pharmaceutical companies, they are at a point now where it's just a little financial cushion. And at the local level, like people have already, some of the other candidates have already said, that the constituents to some extent control that. But when you have somebody that's sitting in a political seat, especially at the local level, for too long, they also start to get manipulated by the little establishment that's within the county, and we need to be very careful of that. So yeah, I do to some extent support term limits.
For the reason of limiting term limits because of corruption, I've built my life on honesty and integrity. I don't think that there should be term limits because of corruption. There should be term limits on the federal level, parts of the state level. When you get down to the more local levels, you're going to have places of smaller counties, smaller cities where there's not going to be a candidate that can step up or will run for that office. So if you have a term limit and you have somebody that's in that office and they get out of office, there may not be anybody there that can take their place. I know of several smaller counties in the Panhandle in West Texas that do not have a county attorney because there is no attorney in the county. So if you're going to limit, you're going to have to at least go by size of the counties or like that. The term limits in some cases can be good, like I said, especially on the state level and the national level. The local level, you're going to have to look at more your local people and the people that are working for you. And that way, when you look for term limits on the local level, you're going to have to look into, like I said, the cause of nobody may be there to take their place.
Next question is for county commissioner candidates. What is the annual budget for residential road repair, and what processes and procedures are utilized for this, internal labor or contractors?
I try to put aside annually around $60,000 to $70,000 a year for doing pavement, if I can make it, without any kind of disaster in between to take that money away from me like I've had in the past with floods, washing out roads. But far as repairs, like I said, I have about $200,000 of road-based material that I'm budgeted out of my 1.5 million total budget that we have. And believe me, 200,000 don't go very far.
I am not currently aware of the exact budget that we have to deal with. I do feel like most of our budget should be looked at for paving roads and continuing to prepare for that growth for our community. I think that should be a priority on our list, as well as paving them well the first time to avoid the constant repair on each individual road.
There was a final part of that question which did not get answered, which is this internal labor or contractors?
This is done with me. I've been doing it, internal labor. Contractors, like the judge said a while ago, we have bought new paving equipment, and the commissioners have been sharing employees to do paving. And I have used some contract work on building bridges and things of that nature. But as far as paving, we've been doing that ourselves.
I agree with Mr. File. I think that that utilizing our county employees that are already knowledgeable in that area, they have a lot to offer in those areas and how to pave and pave properly. I would definitely use our internal workshop already.
Question for Ms. Berlanga. When you talk about our county issues, what exactly is a feasibility study and why is it important?
A feasibility study is a comprehensive study that looks at the viability of an idea. So you can't just throw an idea out there and say, okay, I'm going to make it work. You actually have to have the information, all the information gathered in order to make that decision. It answers two very important questions. Will the idea work? And then how should you proceed with it? So this is a very basic, it's the foundation of a business plan. So when you talk about short and long-term planning, this is the foundation of that. It also identifies, a feasibility study identifies all the things that you need to make business work. It identifies the logistical and financial problems and solutions, develops the marketing strategies for moving forward with that idea, and serves, as I said, as the foundation for developing a business plan. Some of the components of a feasibility study, you describe the product or the service, and when talking about EMS, we're talking about a service. You talk about the industry, the market, future growth, if there's any competition like private service. In our case, county EMS would not necessarily have a competition. Revenue projections, which is critical, and then the potential customers, which would be your billing, patient billing. You'd also need to it also has the technical part of it, which is how do you deliver that service. That incorporates the materials, the labor, the transportation, the locations, technology, resources. You also, the most important part of a feasibility study, in my opinion, is the financial feasibility. You're going to be looking at the capitalization, startup costs, the sources of that capital, and then if there's any return on investment. So in the case of EMS, it would be the patient billing and that kind of, I lost my train of thought. Okay, and then also the organizational structure. So you need to look at the positions, the qualifications, the skills, and the operating procedures. And then the last part of the feasibility study, which is also a critical component, is the implementation plan. How are you going to implement that idea?
Final question. In addition to serving as the county CEO, the county judge, as implied by its title, involves judiciary responsibilities. What qualifications do you have for this role? Please describe your understanding of these duties and how you will fulfill them if elected.
Could you repeat that? No,
Without the
I'm
mic.
serious.
In addition to serving as the county CEO, the judge role involves judiciary responsibilities. What qualifications do you have? How will you fulfill this role?
Judicial responsibilities, I have 21, right at 22 years of experience in the Criminal Justice Center. I've been a patrol deputy or patrol sergeant for Wilson County Sheriff's Office. I served as the Justice of the Peace for 12 years, and I have 3 years with as county judge. I have had multiple jury hearing or I preside over multiple jury trials. I have presided over bench trials. I have had pretrial hearings, pretrial motions. I have an extensive knowledge of civil matters in the Justice of the Peace courts. And then we have concurrent jurisdiction the justice of the peace and the county judges, as a constitutional county judges, have concurrent jurisdiction over civil matters where the matter in controversy does not exceed $10,000. So I have heard multiple civil cases when I was a justice of the peace. I hear the civil cases now. I hear appeals from justice of the peace court, both criminal and civil. We still have time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I have also worked as a probate judge, and I have worked with probates, guardianships, and to the tune of about 140 a year. This is something that when people come in, they're dealing with their family and their family ties. This is something that they don't take lightly.
I have 8 years of courtroom experience. I've also sat in on, or participated in, I should say, mental health hearings at the state and San Antonio State Hospital to determine if an individual is fit to leave the facility. I've also participated in legal proceedings with my 16 years of HR experience, a lot of that revolved around employee issues. I would also, any newly elected official, including the JPs, the judge himself, when they were all first elected the very first time, they had to go off for a week of training, and in that first year of being elected, they had to acquire their 30 hours of continuing education in the judicial part of the job, and then 16 hours every year after that, so I would have to go through that same training.
I want to thank each of the candidates for giving up their time this evening and being here. I want to thank each of you in the audience who has given up your evening. We know that you could be home watching the Olympics or something else, or enjoying the evening, maybe watching basketball playoffs here locally. So thank you for being interested enough in the business of our county and in your ability and your right and your privilege to cast a vote to come and hear from these candidates tonight. This does conclude our proceedings. We will give each candidate 30 seconds to give a final message to you as voters, and then we'll call it a night. We're going to start with JP candidates.
I'm going to go back to my introduction because I didn't finish, but not really. I just appreciate the opportunity to serve. I really do. I love Wilson County. I love Precinct 3. I love this country. So I'm asking for your support for Justice Peace Precinct 3.
I'm Connie Terry. I currently serve as court clerk in Precinct 3. I'm the candidate who has got the hands-on experience, the Justice Court Training Center experience, and best prepared to serve you as Justice of the Peace. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to come and talk to you. And I too appreciate your support. I believe I have the best experience that would make the best justice of the peace because of my years in law enforcement and dealing not only with criminal but also with civil matters. Thank you.
I ask for your continued support and vote on the March 6th primary election. I love serving Wilson County, I love serving its citizens, and I love my job. I appreciate all the support you have showed me in the past, and will you please continue to do it in the future? Thank you.
I look forward to making financially sound changes and working hard for Wilson County. I want to put my experience to work for all of you and come up with some great ideas for investing our money and making more money for the county. Thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity to be able to come and speak with you guys tonight and answer any other questions. My name is Tiffany Ward. I'm running for County Commissioner for Precinct 2. I appreciate your support.
I have a contingent working plan in progress, and I'd like to complete that plan, and that is to continue paving the roads and working for the constituents out here in Precinct 2. Precinct 2 in 2020 probably going to gain about 100 miles. And this commissioner in this seat has to figure out a way to make this thing work. That's gonna be considered by, we have to have the growth because of the population, but it's put onto us by the state and federal government.